Hello YouTube, Joseph Crickmore here, and this is a video I've been meaning to make for a while. I caught up with X-Men 97, saw it, reignited my love for Marvel, reignited my hope that we can still have good adaptations of stories, and, you know, as long as it's handled properly, of course. So I'm going to do a video of hopes and predictions for the future. Not Season 2, because everybody keeps saying, oh, Apocalypse, Onslaught. Okay? Season 2 and beyond. I'm not going to say that I want most of these to happen in the show, but they're something that I personally would want. Okay? It's a different style of video for all the X-Men stuff, and it's the first for my channel. I haven't done any X-Men related content on my channel yet, so this is going to be a completely new video topic. So any new people that have never been on my channel before, hello, welcome. This is kind of a new standard format for how I do videos. Well, anyway, let's get started. Specific characters I want to make an appearance or a morph transformation, because let's face it, Morph carried a lot of the cameos in X-Men 97, except for the times when they actually had cameos, like in the final 3 episodes. Otherwise, it would be a morph transformation. So to kick off this section of the video, I have the Zorn Brothers. Now you may be thinking, the Zorn Brothers, who are they? Well, they're my favorite mutants that are still obscure to most people. I am not kidding. Once I found out who these two guys were, they became my favorite mutants. One tried to impersonate Magneto, and that was a whole, like, retcon thing, which introduced his brother to be like, oh, that wasn't really Magneto. It was my brother pretending to be Magneto. It was crazy. And they're cool because, one, they're mutants that can survive in space. They don't need food, water, or even to breathe. Why? Well, their mutant ability is related to their head. One has a living black hole in his head, and the other is a living dwarf star. I'm pretty sure it's a dwarf star. It's something similar. And they have, like, gravity manipulation. They have the ability to detonate it if they wanted to, which would be like a self-sacrificing thing. One of them became a teacher at Xavier's school. The other one is a very famous villain character. Well, okay, maybe not that famous, but you know what I mean. And I want them either to appear in the present day of the timeline or to do the imposter Magneto story. Because, you know, that's how they're introduced. Especially if one of them is the, especially if one of them is going to be a teacher for Xavier's school. I don't know why I love these guys. Maybe it has to do with the X in their name, and I love wacky, unique concepts that are just off the walls insane. Trust me, I'm a sucker for anything out of the ordinary, which is why I find the X-Men to be fascinating. The next character I'm going to mention is Joseph, and I think a few people have brought this theory up that they could still do this if they managed to pull off Madeline Pryor as the clone of Jean Grey, because that wasn't really a thing in the comics until way later. It was a retcon and all that stuff. People have said they could do Joseph. I agree, but I don't think I would want it as much as the Zorn Brothers, because he's a clone with Magneto who originally thinks he is Magneto, but then he gets amnesia, he gets he gets nursed back to health by people, they give him the name Joseph, he becomes an X-Men. I don't know, it could work. Once again, it could also work in the present day of the timeline of 97. Sorry if there are going to be spoilers right here for the end of 97, but Asteroid M... fine. Big spoiler warning here. If you don't want to, turn off the sound until the next slide, okay? Okay. Asteroid M exploded throughout, and it was actually like transporting the X-Men throughout space and time, right? Magneto, Beast, Charles, Rogue, Nightcrawler, they all ended up in ancient Egypt. Whereas Cyclops and Jean Grey, or Scott and Jean, they ended up in the future. Of course, you know, where's Wolverine? Where's Morph? Where's Storm? Good questions. Where's Jubilee? Good questions. But I think the present day could use Joseph. Considering that our Magneto, Eric, he's in the past, right? It'd be kind of funny if Joseph showed up in the present, nobody realized that it's technically not the real Magneto, but then he gets amnesia, maybe something happens with Forge, and then, Joseph, be kind of cool to try to... It'd be like retreading Magneto's path in the first season, but it's literally not Magneto. It's the only good way you could probably write that. Okay, now it's the lightning round where I'm just naming off fan favorite characters that are also some of my favorites that I just want in the show at some point. I don't care what story significance they hold. I just want them to appear. If we could get Glob, Pixie, Multiple Man, and Exodus as background characters, I'm allowed to mention a bunch of these, okay? Or even Morph cameos if he wants to. So Blink, Kitty Pryde, Havoc, a.k.a. Scott's brother. I forgot his real name. I think it's Alex? Is it Alex? I think it is. I know he has another brother, Gabriel. I'm pretty sure that's Vulcan. Vulcan's not in this list, I don't think. Lifeguard, Slipstream, and Maggot. Don't bother asking me about Maggot, how he could play out in the story. He's just one of those mutants that I find interesting. I don't know if they'd be able to pull it off. Proteus, Franklin Richards, and Legion. Now, yes, I'm aware doing Franklin Richards requires the Fantastic Four, and properly doing them, but if Morph could become Reed Richards for like 5 seconds, they could probably do Franklin Richards. He is born a mutant, people. Like, the Fantastic Four don't count because they were mutated in space. But Franklin counts because he was born with the X gene from his parents who were already mutated. So he is technically a very powerful mutant anyway. He was also offered the chance to go to Genosha, but he turned it down. Or was it Krakoa? Hard to tell these days where, the X-Men are. Was it Genosha or was it Krakoa? Armor, X-23, and Strife. 2 of these are Logan. 2 of these are Logan's students. And we all know that Logan is a terrible teacher in the comics because he's gone through how many students now? Trying to teach him, and it doesn't really work out. And Armor technically did have her appearance in the X-Men anime, which is what made her famous for me. And Strife is just a clone of Cable. With Madeline Pryor, once again, you can pull off Strife. The whole clone thing, Even though Sinister is kind of out of business at the end of 97. But, the future is still an option. Brew, Dupe, and Polaris. 2 of my favorite out there X-Men choices. And Polaris, if we have a panel of an episode, like a screenshot, behind Forge at the end of the series that says Scarlet Witch is off-world, why not bring in her other sister? Bring in Polaris. The only X-Men show that I know of that even bothered to do anything with Polaris was Wolverine and the X-Men. And I hate to say this, the show did really well with picking obscure characters for its time. But guess what? That was my first exposure to Forge. And I hate the show for that. Why? Why did they make Forge like that? It ruined my perception of an actually badass character. When I went to watch him in X-Men 97, I'm like, wait, are you Forge? And I'm so mad that there's now a generation of people that saw Wolverine and the X-Men and think Forge is like that, when he's really not. Oh my goodness. It's the one stain on that show. The character design. Ooh, my goodness. Anywho, Evangeline Whedon, Darwin, and Orphan Maker. I know I already had Lifeguard here, so Darwin feels like a repetitive choice. And Evangeline Whedon, for anyone that doesn't know, she's like an X-Men lawyer. She's like their lawyer, like how She-Hulk and Daredevil are for other Marvel characters. And the cool thing about her mutant power is it only activates when she touches blood, or when blood touches her skin. She then mutates into a giant dragon. I think that's badass. Fight me. And Orphan Maker is a pretty obscure X-Men villain who goes out of his way to abduct mutant children from their families at any cost because he thinks that their parents aren't going to raise mutant children. So he's actually kind of a crazy villain. It's about time we had a villain that wasn't Magneto, Sabretooth, Apocalypse, Mystique, Omega Red. It's about time we brought someone else from the X-Men's library. Iceman, Warpath, and Thunderbird. These are just more X-Men characters I wish were in the show. I mean, come on, people. Where was Bobby? Where was Bobby during 97? And I haven't seen the original animated series yet. I know there's a lot of stuff that I have to catch up with the original X-Men show. If Iceman was in the show, let me know in the comments. I'm kind of a new fan to the 90s series. Magik, Siren, Surge, and Blindfold. I know what people are going to say. But Joey, Magik was in the show. Yes, I know. As a morph transformation. In this case, I want Colossus' sister to actually show up. Now, speaking of Colossus, he's not in this list. I'm sorry, but 1, that seems like a very obvious shoo-in for another season. 2, he's not that obscure. Come on, people, he's in the Deadpool movies. And 3, wouldn't that be beating a dead horse at this point? If I were to bring up Colossus, everyone would be like, oh, that's an obvious choice. I'm trying to go for the not obvious choices. Even though I brought up Iceman just a couple seconds ago. Whatever. My point is, I want Magik to do her story arc. Or to just, I don't know, have the Soul Sword. Siren could actually work in the show's canon because her father's Banshee, and Banshee's kind of dead. Surge and Blindfold are just more obscure X-Men. Now we're on to the storylines I want adapted. This is the tricky part of the video because, once again, I don't know the original 90s stories from the show's canon. So I'm going to catch up on that before the end of the year. That's my goal. In doing so, I might make a reaction series to the original 90s series. If you want me to react to the X-Men 90s series, the way I'm reacting to anime right now, put it in the comments section below, and I will do it. I genuinely will do it. Okay? Anywho, so don't give me flack if there's like a storyline here that they kind of put in the original series. First, I have to bring this up because everybody else wants to bring it up. Apocalypse, Onslaught, those are obvious. The setup for Onslaught was there. Apocalypse was heavily set up at the end of Season 1 of 97, even though it's technically Season 6. Don't know why people forget to bring that up. It's Season 6, people. So, I have to bring it up. The obligatory Apocalypse and Onslaught. Never thought I'd say that about Onslaught being, like, so obvious. I actually probably was one of the first people in my head, like when I was watching those final episodes, when Charles was like, I'm sorry, Magnus, and he like actually broke Magnus's psyche. I'm like, are they doing Onslaught now? Because I was aware of who this guy is. He's in Marvel vs. Capcom, people. But the next thing that I really want, and this will probably actually be in the next season, I want Archangel and Wolverine as Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Think about it. We know for a fact that Gambit is going to become Death. It was heavily teased at the end of Season 1. But what about Wolverine and Archangel? Archangel seems kind of weird because he was kind of left out of the story, period. But he technically was at Genosha when the attack happened. He's a background character in one of the scenes of the gala. But where's Wolverine? Where's Logan after Asteroid M exploded? Where is he? The answer? Apocalypse already has him to make him a Horseman. I know. That's also kind of a floating theory going around for speculation. But I thought I'd bring this up. It would bring... Oh, what's his name? It would bring Archangel back into the story. I forgot his name. It's been so long. Okay. The next storyline that I would love to see the 90s series do, if it hasn't already, is House of M. Yes, I'm serious. This storyline, which then leads into something else. Scarlet Witch altered reality at her brother's request, was driven mad by her powers and the loss of her children. You know, Speed and Wiccan? Yeah. Led to the creation of this world where mutants dominated mankind and Magneto was their leader, but all she really did was alter reality. And it was undone when people gained their memories of the real world, which then leads into M-Day. I think it would be a cool storyline because has it ever been adapted? Ever? It could finally show the world a possibility of, like, what if mutants were dominant all along, or became the dominant species on the planet, or they became dominant enough that we couldn't really rebel if we tried, because that was the point of House of M. We had a war over it, you know? So I think this is a storyline worth adapting at some point. But of course, this one leads into M-Day, aka Decimation. This is a big deal. This is literally probably the biggest deal since the Krakoa stories ended. See, Scarlet Witch alters reality again after House of M to get rid of mostly all mutants by targeting the X gene specifically, in a spell she calls No More Mutants. But thanks to Emma Frost and Doctor Strange, only 91% of the population lost their powers, but some died as a result. This is a big deal, people. This is the status quo change for the X-Men for a long time. This, I think, still has ramifications to this day. And it's not that old of a story. It's like, what? 2012? 13-ish? Because isn't that when House of M started? It's not that old, is what I'm saying. This is recent. At least more recent. Now the Brood. I have a feeling that they may have been done in the original 90s series, but they didn't go by the name The Brood. But the Brood are kind of important to the X-Men. They're an alien race who create more of their kind by injecting hosts. They're inspired by xenomorphs. They became famous for their storyline in Uncanny X-Men. But one was different from the others, as he had intelligence and compassion, and wasn't technically born of the hive mind. He was Brew. It's why I want him in the show, because I want them to do more with them. Think about it. We had an entire episode in space. Mostly in space. With the Kree and the Shi'ar. Who else is an alien race that deals with the X-Men? The Brood. I'm just saying, if they want to keep doing the whole space stories, like, you can't just leave Lilandra and the Shi'ar in space. Especially after the fact that Charles left. You know? If she loved Charles, she would probably give up her throne to be with him, and she would go to Earth. Which would leave the throne for Deathbird, and then, you know, she would probably marry Vulcan, And then that whole storyline could happen too, which would be sick. The next one that I want the show to do at some point is the Faillanks. It's another alien race, but it's technically an artificial intelligence on a galactic scale that seeks to control and gain more knowledge. It does this by way of either assimilating or destroying civilizations. Played its role in Uncanny X-Men as well. Wow. That run has a lot of famous alien races for the X-Men. Good storylines. Could the Faillanks work? Yes, it could. We also already have a backdoor into space. The Shi'ar, like I just mentioned. If they ever wanted to do the Faillanks, they could pull it off. Okay? It's not hard. It's definitely a set of stories I would love to see adapted, because has anybody adapted the Faillanks into any media outside of comic books? I don't think so. Now I bring up the Inhumans. The Inhumans as a whole, not just the royal family, so don't mind the devil dinosaurs just in the picture. Because I don't think Devil Dinosaur is an Inhuman. Maybe Moon Girl is, I don't know. But just stories with them in the whole, you know. Silent War, Inhumans versus X-Men. And I think that the Kree versus Shi'ar could be like a setup for this, because the Inhumans were created by the Kree, and the X-Men are allied with the Shi'ar, so that's like friction right there. I might be pulling at straws with this one, but I want the Inhumans adapted. I love the royal family aspect, okay? And the fact that they are considered separate enough that they are not mutants. They're their own thing. But they also don't give a damn about humans or mutants. It's why Atalan is so out of the way. And then the KCOA Era. I know, it seems a little early for the show to even think about doing anything with KCOA, because KCOA literally just ended. But hear me out. Following the destruction of Genosha, doesn't that seem familiar, mutant kind found a new home for themselves on the living island KCOA. I know it's more complicated than that, but I'm summarizing for people that don't know. Even though it's a recent storyline that has been wrapped up, it could work for adaptation purposes. Hear me out. We did the destruction of Genosha arc in 97, right? Right. Was it done by Cassandra Nova? No, of course not. Because you would have to set up Cassandra Nova separately. But could you do KCOA? Could you do a version of KCOA? The answer is yes. Why? Because think of it this way. If people were reacting negatively to mutants because of the Prime Sentinels before Magneto made Asteroid M again, they're going to react the same way eventually to just the fallout of Asteroid M. Because, you know, people want to take their anger out on something. So eventually, the mutants that are still in the present day... Oh, wait a minute. I just remembered. Jubilee is in the present day. Scratch what I said earlier. I'm forgetting things. Jubilee is with Forge in the present day. I'm a doofus. Sorry, people. But there will obviously be some friction in the present day, especially for people that felt safe on Genosha. If KCOA pops up and offers shelter for the X-Men or mutants, it could work. It doesn't even have to be a big deal. It could be like a setup thing for when everyone returns to the present day after what's coming up. Okay? And that's pretty much the video. I laid out a lot of ideas. Do you think they're all going to get used? Probably not. Are all the characters I brought up going to show up? No. Even though I want my Zorn Brothers, damn it. But this was just a video idea I had because I knew people were going to be talking about X-Men Season 2 and the future, and I wanted to give my 2 cents on this because I'm a guy that has loved the X-Men ever since the movie Days of Future Past, or Wolverine and the X-Men, which is a sad way to find out about the X-Men. I hate that show now for what it did to Forge. It's the only reason I am 50-50 on that show. Comment below how you got your start with X-Men. If you want me to react to the 90s series, or Evolution, or, I don't know, anything relating to the X-Men. It's one of the reasons why I was sticking with Marvel as long as I have. Thank you all so much for watching. If you liked it, hit the like button, subscribe, share the video with a friend, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye.